I thought I'd do something a little bit different this time. Looking at the 1973 release of Yes's famous triple live album, Yessongs. Um, it was in the days when buying vinyl was quite an exciting moment, and one would save up your pocket money to buy um, a beautifully packaged item, and this is one of those rare examples of what they call a triple gatefold, with the records inside. Um, and what we're going to do is just have a little look at it and perhaps talk a little bit about the history. Just before going on this tour, I think Bill Bruford, the drummer, had decided that he wanted to expand his horizons a little bit and go and join Robert Fripp in King Crimson. And so they recruited Alan White, who had drummed with John Lennon on Imagine. So fantastic credentials, good Geordie bloke. And I think he had to sort of basically learn all the parts on the plane over to America before they started their tour. So I think Bill is on a couple of tracks on this, but then Alan takes over and does his work and carries on doing his work for probably another 40 years. So let's just have a look. This is the front cover, obviously beautiful Roger Dean artwork, setting the scene for what you're going to find inside. So under the first sleeve, we've got, I don't know, are they mushrooms growing out of the water? Of course, this whole concept of floating planets was started on the Fragile album. A fracturing Earth, disintegrating, very ahead of his time, Roger Dean, thinking about the environment and how the planet wasn't going to survive. But, you know, simple but incredibly effective artwork. This next page is probably even more famous, with the animals standing on the edge of the fractured planet as the bits separate off. He often puts lakes and waterfalls into his imagery. So these animals, we talk about polar bears being stranded on icebergs, but just look at these animals being stranded on this exploding planet. Very ahead of its time, 1973. In fact, this artwork was probably drawn back in 1972. So yeah, definitely ahead of their time, looking at the environment and how the planet's not going to survive. Again, probably this was made into a poster adorning many walls in the 1970s. I think with Yes, the artwork has been as much part of the band's heritage as the music contained inside. And it's just beautifully drawn. And one of the differences with Roger Dean over Rodney Matthews, who was the other one that created the same type of artwork, Roger Dean does all his painting by hand. He doesn't use spray to do his artwork, whereas I think Rodney Matthews does it with spray. So all of this work and all these little dashes and dots, they're all hand painted. So quite remarkable. And he does them on very big screens as well, so they get reduced down, which gives them a much finer quality. I learnt that from a friend of mine who's a graphic artist, and he said if you do things big and then shrink them, you see far less of the imperfections than if you do it small and then blow it up. So yeah, quite astonishing piece of artwork. So if we just turn to the back cover and we look at the track listings on this, the Firebird Suite is something that Yes have used for a long time. Just as the band's coming on stage, it's quite anthemic, quite bouncy music, so it really gets the audience in the mood. And obviously kicking off with Siberian Cat True is a real pumper for the start. And then the classic Heart of a Sunrise from the Fragile album. They go into a Perpetual Change, which I think's off the Yes album, and then in You and I, which is the second track on Close to the Edge, which has been regularly regarded as the greatest progressive rock album of all time. Only 3 songs. I mean, people talk about modern singers doing an 8-minute song, and oh wow, aren't they wonderful? Yes, we're doing a triple album with 3 songs on it. And then you've got Mood for a Day, which obviously is Steve Howe doing his little guitar piece, Rick Wakeman's 6 Wives of Henry VIII, and then Roundabout, which was really their big hit in America. It was shortened against the band's wishes, but went on radio and made them into a supergroup. Your Move, I've Seen All Good People, again, they're off the Yes album. Long Distance, Run Around and the Fish, off Fragile, the Fish being Chris Squire's epic bass solo. And then we move on to the 3rd album on this set, the whole of Close to the Edge, which was quite ambitious to do live, I would have thought, but they must have had some form of backing tapes for the Bird songs and what have you. And then Yours Is No Disgrace and Starship Trooper. And I think Starship Trooper has just become their last song of the night ever since. And you know that's the end of the concert when they play that. And in fact, having seen Rick Wakeman himself recently, albeit that he wasn't on the Yes album, he thinks Starship Trooper is a tremendous song, and he still performs it with his band. So yeah, wonderful stuff. There we go. That explains a little bit about the difference between the tracks with Bill Bruford and Alan White. Good old Eddie Offord producing. I think they lost their way a bit when Eddie Offord left. Certainly Yes Tomato could have done with his hand at the controls. There's no doubt about it. And there you see cover design and illustration Roger Dean, photographs and layout Martin Dean. So those 2 long-standing Yes contributors, and right up to the present day, Roger Dean still producing fabulous artwork. Heaven and Earth, not regarded as a great album, but the cover's probably one of the best that they've ever had. Few honourable mentions, nothing particularly interesting except Lighting by Mike Tate. Little bit of history. Mike Tate worked consistently with Yes, producing their lights and dramatic effects on stage, to the extent he's actually set up his own business, probably in the 1980s, and now runs a very, very successful entertainment and concert organisation running the lighting and sound, I believe. So there's a lot of history in this album, and it's certainly seen better days, my copy. It is an original from 1973, held together with very tarnished sellotape, but a treasured possession. So I hope you enjoyed that. A few different things on my channel. If you like them, please tick yes, and feel free to subscribe. Thank you very much. Nice to speak to you. Bye.